Tara. This story is about a 12-year-old girl, Tara. She lives in Calcutta, the eastern part of India. Tara belongs to the lower class and works as a servant for a woman named Didi, doing daily chores in her house. One day, Tara goes to Didi's house to clean, but Didi doesn't let her in. Didi opened the door. "Not today." "Why not?" I asked. I ignored her and ran inside. Didi frowned, and the bindi fell off her forehead. She slapped it back on and said, "Ma is visiting." Didi blocked the doorway. "You can't go in there, or the prayer room. Ma does not allow it." I was disappointed because I had wanted to meet Ma. Why doesn't she allow it?
"Because you're an untouchable,"
shouted Biren, Didi's 9-year-old son.
"I cannot even look at you. That would be touching you with my eyes."
He covered his face, but it wasn't enough to hide his cruel smile.
"That means you're dirty,"
he finished, in case I hadn't understood. But I hadn't. I cleaned floors and washed dishes all day. I cleaned everything. How could I be dirty? My face felt warm. I had heard ugly words before, but they were never said to my face. I wasn't stupid. I knew I wasn't a Brahmin. They perform holy rituals in the temple, but I'm not allowed to. So what? I ran quickly out of the house. "Tara, wait!" called Didi, but I was gone to a dark and lonely place in my head. That afternoon, I arrived early at my grandfather's house. I call him Dadu. He is a wise man. He explains things in such a simple way that even Biren would understand them. He makes pots. When I got there, he was sitting at his wheel shaping clay with his fingers. I help him load the kiln with the pots every afternoon, large ones at the bottom and delicate pieces at the top. I usually have the steady hand needed to make pots, but that steady hand was missing that day. I broke several pots by mistake. Dadu quietly walked over to the wheel and picked up some clay. "Are you going to make another pot, Dadu?" I asked.
"You are, Tara,"
said Dadu.
"Let's see you spin."
I sat down and began to spin the wheel. My mind was spinning too. I took the clay from Dadu and threw it onto the wheel, pushing it to the center. The wheel spun faster. My elbows flapped like chicken wings as I wrestled with the clay. Dadu placed his hands over mine.
"You must control it, Tara,"
he said. Soon, I worked my thumb into the middle to create a mouth, shaping the sides up in a curve. At last, I set my finished pot on a tray to rest. Dadu asked if I felt better. Not much. I had thrown my rage on the wheel with the clay, but there was still plenty left inside of me. I told Dadu what happened in Didi's house and then asked, "Dadu, we are poor, but does that mean we are dirty?" Dadu smiled gently.
"We are all made from the same clay. Like these pots, some of us are fat or thin, some of us have cracks in our sides, and some of us are only beautiful for show. The best pots are those that are used every day to keep water cool."
Dadu's words were nice to hear, but I still felt hurt. When my pot was burnt, it looked dark with anger. I was so furious that I smashed it to pieces on the river bank. The next morning, I walked slowly toward Didi's house as rain beat my umbrella. Didi opened the door and sucked me in like a whirlpool. Her hair was in a mess and her eyes were wild. "Thank goodness you're here, Tara. I think Ma's had a stroke. I have to go get Dr. Goshal from his clinic. Watch her, please, okay?" I could only nod as she ran out. Like a stroke, a lightning bolt of guilt hit me too. I had poured my feelings into the pot and broken it by the river. Perhaps I was a witch with smoke curling from my fingertips. Had I caused Ma to have the stroke? Just then, I heard a moan from the room, so I tiptoed to the door. The woman on the bed was neither fat nor thin. Neither did she have cracks in her sides, nor was she beautiful. She was just a very old woman. Then she opened her eyes and saw me. She weakly said something about the prayer room. "Okay, I'm not going in there," I said. "Diddy will be back soon." "Room, water, please." I could hardly believe my ears. "You want me to go into the prayer room and get you the holy water?" She could barely nod, but I understood. After I gave her some water, she grabbed my hand and would not let go even after Diddy returned with Dr. Goschel. When it was time for Ma to go to the hospital, her wrinkly fingers held mine as if they were joined in prayer. Did she know who, or rather what, I was? Maybe her fear of dying was stronger than that of touching me. After they left, I went to the riverbank and found the broken pieces of my pot. I put them in water until they returned to mud. Then I made another pot out of the mud. I thought of music and sunshine as I shaped it. I filled it with flowers and took it to the hospital. Ma's door was open, waiting for me.